Kunja Bihari. Jam Vishnu Pad Padamamsa Parvajikacharya Astotar Sati Sushimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnu Pad Padamamsa Parvajikacharya Astotar Sati Sushimad. Shringa Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantikoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gimunamaya Gangamaya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Shrimati Subhadra Ki Jai. Their Divine Lordship Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Gaura Premananda Hari Haribo. All glories to all assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to all assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to all assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glory Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Krishna Vishmati Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the third canto, chapter 22, text number 8. And here we're going to hear the king speak. And also we will discuss what he's speaking about, and then we'll have some appreciation about how important Srimad Bhagavatam is as a light, like the sun, like the eye of Krishna. And then how the difference, or we're going to talk about the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple, and how they should be in consonance. So let's dive right into it here. Sabhavantu hitir sneha pariklishtat mano mama Shrotam arhasi dinasya Shravitam kripaya mune Sabhavantu hitir sneha Pariklishtat mano mama Shrotam arhasi dinasya Shravitam kripaya mune Sabhavantu hitir sneha Pariklishtat mano mama Shrotam arhasi dinasya Shravitam kripaya mune Sneha Savitamanoupama Tamarsidinasya Swabhavan Durhitir Sneha Pariklistat Mama Sotamarsidinasya Kripayamane Bhavan Durhitir Sneha Pariklistat Mama Sotamarsidinasya Savitam Kripayamune Sabhavan Durhitir Sneha Pariklistat Mama Sotamarsidinasya Takyana Kripayamune Vaishnavis Sabhavan Durhitir Sneha Pariklistat Mama Tam Kripayamune Sotamarsidinasya Pintam Kripayamune Sa yourself Bhavan your honor Duitri Sneha by affection for my daughter Pariklishta Atmana whose mind is agitated Mama my Shrotam to listen Arhasi be pleased Dinasya of my humble self Shravitam to the prayer Kripaya graciously Mune O sage Translation O great sage graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. Please repeat, O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. Purport. When a disciple is perfectly in consonance, it's a nice word, means like agreement, with the spiritual master, having received his message and executed it perfectly and sincerely, he has a right to ask a particular favor from the spiritual master. Generally, a pure devotee of the Lord or a pure disciple of a bona fide spiritual master does not ask any favor either from the Lord or the spiritual master. But even if there is a need to ask a favor from the spiritual master, one cannot ask that favor without satisfying him fully. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to disclose his mind regarding the function he wanted to execute due to his affection for his daughter. Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Svagaya Chakshus Unmanitamena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakopatubhyascha kripasindhu bhavacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So the verse again. O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the disciple, when is perfectly in consonance, that means he's perfectly in agreement with the spiritual master, which is very important. So today, because people don't have a spiritual master or a guide or some light on how they act, they're lost in a maze of relative truths. And the complexity and the confusion of navigating these diverse truths in the world just keeps them in bewilderment. So there's a human desire for certainty, and so this is we are lost because of that to the maze of all the relative truths in the world. And because of that, we yearn for an absolute truth. You see, because there's a human desire for certainty and truth. You know, they want to be invincible to all skepticism. But there's an impasse because we only have perception and inference. You see, and they're limited. If we just rely solely on those, the sense perception and inference, logic, then how can we get certainty? So this is how we're lost in that maze of this trying to find some absolute truth or some invincible knowledge. And so now we see in the universe, Jiva Goswami says that the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the ultimate knowledge in the universe. So it's very interesting. It's actually the king of all knowledge. And if we just see Srila Prabhupada's life, he spent so much time translating the Bhagavatam, isn't it? We can say that Srimad Bhagavatam and his translations of the Bhagavatam was Srila Prabhupada's main service. It was most important service because he did it from day one till the final day. And it's the only service that Srila Prabhupada did from the beginning of his mission to the very final moments of his mission. And it's the only service that Prabhupada did every single morning in the most valuable hours of the day. And it's the service which Srila Prabhupada worked on practically no matter where he was in the world. And whatever other priorities there is, the mission, he was always translating. And we could say his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam is also the thing that gave him confidence to come to America. Because only when he completed the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam did he decide to come to America. So we can say Srila Prabhupada did so many amazing things, right? So many amazing projects. But if you study Prabhupada's life, you can say very clearly that the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam was incredibly important to him. And this is why Jiva Goswami says, if you want ultimate knowledge, you have to go to Srimad Bhagavatam. And he established that the Bhagavatam is the place where ultimate truth can be found. So in this way, he does it in his Tattva Sandarbha. It's very, very beautiful books that he wrote. So the first thing he says, that if you want to know something, there's three ways you can know something. So it's either by pratyaksha, that's by seeing it, you perceive it directly, and by anuman, that's logic, inference. Or the third way is by shabda, hearing. So we have to hear from authority of what, and this is what Jiva Goswami says, that if you just try to get knowledge through pratyaksha and anuman, then it will always be defective. So this is why people are always bewildered. So why is that? Because the human beings, they have 4 defects. Do you know what they are? Anybody know one? Yes? Yes. And another one? Yes. Cheaters, yeah. And make mistakes, yes. Thank you. So Jiva Goswami says that if you want to get the highest knowledge, you can never get it through your own perception, but you have to hear it from someone else. But then he says, what if you want to hear it, you have to make sure that the source of knowledge is from a non-material source. Because if you hear it from another human being who also has 4 defects, then your knowledge is again defective. So he says, lesson number 1 is that the highest knowledge can only be gained through hearing. And lesson number 2 is that if you want to hear knowledge, then you have to make sure it's from a non-material source, because then it will be perfect knowledge. But then he says, there are many, many non-material sources, and there are many, many religions in the world. So then he establishes that the Vedic revelation of the truth is the highest theology. And because it's the most in-depth, it's the most relevant over all times, places, and circumstances. So this is the Vedic revelation of the truth. It gives the most auspiciousness. So this Vedic revelation of the truth is accessible to everyone. And he says that the Vedic revelation of the truth is the most beautiful and poetic and charming. So Jiva Goswami also says that if you want to find the ultimate truth, then you got to go to the Vedas. And because the Vedas are non-material and the most advanced theology, but then he says there's many, many books in the Vedas. And then what he establishes in this Tattva Sandarbhas is that out of all the books in the Vedas, the Puranas are the foremost. So why is that? He says because the Puranas are the essence of the 4 Vedas. And so this is Purana. There's that verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, 43rd verse. Probably some of you may know it. Krishna sva dhammo pagate dharma jnanari bhi saha kalu nasti drisham esha puranoko duho dita. So that purano arko means the Purana which is brilliant like the sun, and it is just now risen. So that verse, the Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. A very wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. And we're comparing, the Bhagavad Purana is compared to the brilliant sun that dissipates darkness. And it arose after Lord Krishna's departure for his own abode, taking away religion, knowledge, and then people in Kali Yuga, they're in this dense darkness of ignorance, and this Bhagavad Purana will provide light to remove that ignorance. So it's nice, this metaphor of the Bhagavad as a sunlight, like brilliant light is dispelling darkness of ignorance. And for these people who are overwhelmed in this age of Kali. So also Purana, it also means old, but it comes from the word Purna. And what does Purna mean? That's one word. That's one meaning, but there's another meaning. Purna also means perfect. So therefore the Puranas make all perfect, this all perfect knowledge. It's contained in the Vedas. So he says if you want to find the essence of the Vedas, then you have to look to the Puranas. But then he says there's 18 Puranas. So which one should you go to? They're divided into 3. Do you know what? There's 6 Puranas, and then there's 6 Puranas, and then there's 6 Puranas. Yes, Prabhu? Exactly, yes. So therefore he says if you want to find the essence of the Puranas, then you have to go to the Puranas which are in the mode of goodness, yeah. So because they give the highest knowledge, but then he says there's still 6 books amongst the Puranas in goodness. And he said there is an Amala Purana. the spotless prana, which is considered the topmost. And then that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Jiva Goswami says that the ultimate knowledge in the universe must be found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's what we're reading today. And it's important because we're reading all these pastimes and understanding this whole philosophy. But then he brings up this very important word. In philosophy, it's known as epistemology. And basically it means that if you want to know something, the first thing is you have to establish, how do you know what you want to know? What's the main means and the theory to getting that knowledge? So Jiva Goswami describes that. It's that if you want to know something, you have to go to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So just see how fortunate we are. We're studying this every single day. So we could see people who train, they claim to have the truth, but we can show them on these different aspects that they postulate as truth. It's not actually truth, because the ultimate truth is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we see Krishna consciousness is a philosophical tradition, and it's faced with a lot of criticism because we emphasize authority, you see, in the quest for the absolute truth. So while modern philosophy, they actually reject authority, you see. But actually various aspects, even worldly knowledge, is gained from authorities. So the limitations of just relying on sense perception and inferential logic, it's a defect. And these defects are outlined in the Vedas. And if we unreliably just solely, rely on these methods for acquiring knowledge, you're going to be defective. And why is that? Why is it defective? Because of mistakes. We've mentioned about that. Human beings are prone to make errors. The sense perception being a human faculty, it's susceptible to mistakes. An illusion, it's deceptive nature of sensory experiences. They create false impressions. You see, they don't, like optical illusions, they don't accurately reflect reality. And then because our senses are limited, they're limited in their scope and range. We can only perceive a fraction of the vast information in the universe. And then the propensity to cheat, the tendency to deceive or to mislead. And this is that, we are influenced by manipulating, giving false perceptions, things like that. So these defects collectively contribute to the unreliability of sense perception. So this is what happens. If we just rely on this sense perception and logical inference, then we have this impasse and in your quest for certainty. So this is why we have to go to this Shabda Brahman, hearing from transcendental authority, the Vedic philosophy. So this is very important. So again, the sun and the sunlight analogy, it illustrates the coexistence of the personal form and impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. It's like the sun and the sunlight. And then we'll talk more about this analogy. It's very nice. We'll talk about that. So when a disciple, as we read, is perfectly in consonance with the spiritual master, having received his message and executed it perfectly and sincerely. So in other words, the Guru's teachings and his behavior must be in consonance also with the Vedic version. So the instructions and the conduct of the spiritual Guru should also be in harmony or agreement with the teachings found in the sacred scriptures. So this is what's being analyzed, the Guru's teachings. This refers to his spiritual guidance, his instructions, the knowledge imparted by the Guru to the disciples. And then also it talks about the behavior of the Guru, his actions, his conduct, his demeanor, their daily life, their interactions with others. It should also be in harmony. And consonance, what that means, it applies agreement, harmony, or alignment. So in this context, it means the teachings and behavior of the Guru. It should align with or conform to the principles and the teachings of the Vedas. Because why? He has the Vedic version. This is the Vedas are the ancient scriptures, and they're considered authoritative because they contain spiritual knowledge, and this is all outlined there. So the genuine spiritual guru, according to this philosophy, or our philosophy, it should not only teach spiritual knowledge, but also exemplify it in their behavior. So both the teachings and the way the guru lives their life should be consistent with the timeless wisdom and values found in the Vedas. So this alignment ensures the authenticity and the credibility of the guru guiding their disciples on the path of spiritual realization. So we see in this pastime, this is what's actually happening here. We see the conversation between Kardamuni and Swayambhuva Manu. It offers profound life lessons that resonate across time. And these lessons remind us of the importance of seeking guidance from wise mentors, striving for spiritual advancement, and fulfilling their societal and familial responsibilities. So we see here how we're understanding from these verses that they relate to the spiritual master and the disciple. So the disciple is Manu, and Kardamuni is like the spiritual master. And he's playing the role of guiding and protecting his disciple. So Manu, as the disciple, is approaching Kardamuni for instruction and guidance. And Kardama welcomes Manu with respect and offers him blessings. So we see all this is very nice, the way they interact. So we see how Kardama Muni was instructing Manu about the importance of social, spiritual orders, of the king's role in maintaining them. And then Manu expresses his willingness to follow Kardama's instructions. So therefore we see how he was in resonance with his teachings. So we could seek this wisdom from enlightened souls like Kardama Muni and is enlightening Manu this way because he's seeking guidance. They get spiritual advancement. It leads to their success. They're fulfilling their duties. And there's mutual respect, cooperation between leaders and sages. And then they honor this divine energy in their leadership. So this is what happens. The leaders should also embody these divine qualities. Compassion, justice, wisdom. They inspire trust and loyalty amongst their followers. So remember the story where Devahuti, we're learning several transcendental realizations from her, how she's got the gift of transcendental knowledge because she pleased her husband. You know, she was very much purified in this beautiful lake. And these are wonderful metaphors. I'd like to go through those again. And this lake of Lord Hari is like boundless love and compassion. So just like a lake, it provides refreshments and sustenance to all to come in, so does God's love. It provides solace and support to all of those who seek it. And then within the lake, there's lotuses. They're like his hands and feet. And they represent beauty and purity. Just like the lotus is considered to be the most beautiful flower. And so too are God's hands and feet. You know, they're considered to be the most beautiful parts of the body. So the fish are like his brilliant shining eyes. And this represents the omniscience of God. Just like a fish can see in all directions, so God also sees everything that happens in the universe. Just like we're going to talk about the sun and the moon are considered to be like the eyes of God. You see, and also the sun, just like the sun's rays come out and nourish everything. So just by Krishna's glance, everything happens. He provides everything. And then the arms are considered to be like the waves because it represents the power of God. We know how powerful the waves are. They can be very destructive. So God's power is capable of doing very great things. And then the current that flows very deep beyond fathoming, it's like a metaphor of the mystery of God. Just as the depths of the lake are often difficult to fathom, so too is the mystery of God. It's very difficult to understand. And then we mentioned that beautiful metaphor given by King Kulashekar. how we compare the Krishna consciousness movement to a rejuvenating lake. That if a devotee dives into this lake and drinks its waters, all his exhaustion from material life will go away. And this metaphor highlights the transformative power of Krishna consciousness. Its ability to bring peace, happiness, spiritual liberation to everyone who comes and embraces it. So this is the fortune we have. So we see here Lord Kapila, we know is an incarnation of Krishna, and he came as the son of Kardama and Devahuti. And then when Kardama left, he renounced life. Then Devahuti questioned Lord Kapila, and she glorified him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that he was the only means to get out of the darkness of ignorance. So there's a verse in chapter 25, text number 8 in this canto. She says, "Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births." So we talked about the transcendental I, which is the sun, right? So we're like conditioned souls. We're stuck in this pitch black night of ignorance, and we're just groping around in the darkness of material existence and sense gratification. So no matter how hard the soul tries, it can't find the way out of this maze. Remember, we showed the maze or the darkness on his own. But however, the spiritual master is like the rising sun. And this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes as a spiritual master, and he's given us this knowledge to his mother. So this transcendental knowledge will gradually dispel this and illuminate the darkness of ignorance. Just like the sun, its light allows one to see and navigate correctly. So the spiritual master's wisdom and guidance show the disciple his path to liberation. So this is what was happening between Kardama Muni and the king. He was given him this wisdom and guidance so he could navigate properly how to rule the citizens. So this is very nice. It's described here. Okay, so we'll go to the next one here. So here we see there's the next verse actually, which Devahuti prays to Kapila Dev. And this is 325.9. And in that, the last line of that verse is Chaksu Surya Avoditaha, which Chaksu means eye, and Surya the sun. Surya Eva is like, and Udita has risen. She says, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and the Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe." So we see here, this is Krishna. He's coming like the sun to his mother and just enlightening her. So there's a very nice purport for that particular verse I just read. And it describes how Kapila Muni is the incarnation of Krishna, who's the sun, and he dispels the darkness of Maya. And without the light of the Lord or the spiritual master's grace, we can't see things as they are. So there must be an intelligent leader or creator behind this organized universe. It's not just an impersonal chunk of matter. So faith in a personal God is diminishing in Kali Yuga as people become more and more foolish and atheistic. This was Prabhupada's bringing out in the purport. And how Krishna is the original Supreme Personality, and even Lord Brahma worships him. And we can have different loving relationships with Krishna, servant, friend, parent, lover. And to see God everywhere, we need transcendental knowledge and love for him. And God is present everywhere, in the ocean, in the sun, in the water's taste. But fools, they cannot perceive him. So Krishna appears to give instructions like Bhagavad Gita to remove our ignorance about the personal God. So this is what we're learning. So I'd like to kind of summarize everything with a little video that I put together. And I just mentioned one thing about Madhyaksena. There's that verse 9:10 of the Bhagavad Gita. Madhyaksena prakriti suyate sa characharam Hetunane kuntaya jagadviparivartante. So Krishna is the original eye of the universe, right? It's like the sun and the moon. You know, he's like the Adi Aksha. It means that he's the one who has eyes that are above everything and beyond everything, above the dark world, this world of birth, old age, disease, and death. And he lives in his eternal, imperishable abode. His eyes are far away, but yet he's looking down and maintaining us by his glance from a remote place. And not only that, but he knows all of us intimately. So everything is being maintained. So everything's maintaining us, just like the sun, the rays, how it comes down, it maintains everything. So in the same way, Krishna, he's maintaining everyone. And he's the Lord of the sun. So this is Maya. It means my, and Adi means from above, and Aksha means eyes. So thus Madhyakshena means under my eyes. Everything is done under Krishna's supervision. So that's nice, very nicely described there. So we'll play the video here now. Is the sound up?
Have you ever paused to consider the nature of truth and enlightenment? Like the sun, truth is constant, unchanging, and illuminating. It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? This journey we're on, this quest for enlightenment, it's akin to the sun's path across the sky, a constant pursuit of light, of understanding of truth. This celestial journey is guided by none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the primeval Lord Govinda. Just imagine the sun, radiant and infinite, the very embodiment of the good soul, serving as the eye of the world, a beacon of truth amidst the darkness of ignorance. Lord Govinda, the origin and supreme Lord of all living entities, orchestrates this beautiful symphony of enlightenment. His causeless mercy becomes our transcendental eye, illuminating our path after many, many births spent in pursuit of the light of truth. Just as the sun rises to illuminate the world, so too does the light of truth rise to dispel the darkness of ignorance.
So Krishna, actually by his glance, he's depositing all the living entities. He activates material nature, and he's not directly involved in the material creation. It's carried out by his energy under his oversight. So Krishna is the Supreme Father, director. He initiates the process of material creation by glancing over material energy, but he remains transcendental and detached from it. So he's our guide like that. So I'd like to end there and see if there's any comments or questions. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the wonderful. Did you make that last video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Who did the voice?
I was over voice, different
AI voice?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Hare Krishna.
I didn't have a chance to. I could actually clone my own voice and put it in there, but I didn't have a chance.
Didn't have the time to. It turned out great. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So I like how you listed through what Jiva Goswami said is the highest of the Puranas categorically, and you said it was the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So is Bhagavad Gita considered the Srimad Bhagavatam because the conversation's not directly in the Bhagavatam, but you do have the conversation with Uddhava and other conversations. Or is Bhagavad Gita considered Bhagavatam because of the mercy of the pure devotee Srila Prabhupada?
Bhagavad Gita is spoken directly by Krishna. Comes from his mouth. So anything from Krishna, like we were talking about his vision, his eye, how he impregnates everything and everything's done, how he maintains everything, how he guides us, and how the Bhagavatam is like the sun, which represents Krishna. It's Krishna. It's where Krishna appeared after he departed. So in the same way, Krishna's voice is non-different than Krishna. So it's Bhagavat. It's Bhagavata. It's Krishna speaking.
But the Srimad, like when Sukadev spoke it to Maharaj Pariksit, he didn't include did he include the conversation with Arjuna as that body of work?
The way I see it is you can see Bhagavad Gita, or Bhagavatam as an expansion of the Bhagavad Gita. It's like Prabhupada says, Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary, and then you go to the graduate, and then you keep going to the higher realms like that. So it's there, it's the same thing.
So one can say Bhagavad Gita is Srimad Bhagavatam?
Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam means.
Okay.
So yeah, I could say it is. Bhagavad Gita is like the Song of God. It's another book aspect like that. Yeah, I guess, is that right? Yes. Yes. Oh yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for a wonderful class. I had a question about the purport, a sentence in the purport.
Sure.
And fourth line down, particular, or a pure devotee, let's see, where is it? Generally, a pure devotee of the Lord or a pure disciple of a bona fide spiritual master does not ask any favor either from the Lord or the spiritual master. Does that include asking for a blessing from your guru? Is that considered a favor?
I think so. I would think so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Jai.
Like people would come to Srila Prabhupada and say, give me your blessings, give me your blessings. And Prabhupada said, you don't want my blessings. Oh, no, we want your blessings. We want your blessings because you're a pure devotee. And like that, okay, see these sannyasis over here? Become like them. Oh, no. But see, if we come to the point where we're actually in agreement, in consonance with the spiritual master, then we'll be on that same level to actually be qualified to receive those blessings. But in a sense, also the spirit, like Lord Chaitanya comes in and just gives love of God to everybody without qualification. So in a sense, we're getting it without even asking for it. So that's the mercy in this age. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. Yes, there's another. And then another one back there. Go ahead.
So I think you kind of already answered my question because you said that, it's when we're in perfect consonance with the spiritual master, with the guru, it's like we have a request, we have a need, maybe, for protection, for something that to help us, stay in the shelter of the spiritual master's lotus feet. But it's like by staying in like perfect consonance with a spiritual master and really just hearing and listening to the spiritual master, it's like in some sort of like subconscious or subliminal way does that need already, or whatever it is, become kind of like already fulfilled before we even ask for it, because it's like Krishna already knows. So it's like sometimes we don't even have to ask. Like we can come to the spiritual master and try to like ask, but then it's like it's already being fulfilled before we can even get it out of our mouth. Does that sometimes happen?
Yeah, that's a good perception. Because actually consonance means that, okay, so once you get in harmony with them, then automatically you're achieving the same thing practically without even asking, right? Like you're following the principles, you're reading, you're elevating your consciousness, and all these things just start to happen. Krishna's just like the sun automatically, its rays, it knows what to do. It knows how to maintain the universe. It knows everything without even being asking. So in the same way, Krishna's already there, he's giving you everything, but we just have to get out of the shadows, get out of the darkness and just open up to the light, and then everything's there. That's true, yeah.
We just kind of like have to get out of like the ignorance of our mind.
Exactly.
Because there's all these blocks, and it's not like we're purposely trying to be in that ignorance of the mind, but there's these blocks that are left behind from our past life of ignorance, and it's like we just kind of got to get over those blocks. So that's why the rays of Krishna, the sunshine, can just shine and provide what we need without even having to ask, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It's like because we're asking, we're lost in this maze, that I'm showing here. The guy's walking around, you can see him move. He's lost in this maze. But he's never going to find anything, because he's just depending on, his, as we're talking about inference, trying to be logically understand thing, or his sense perception. So we have to go above, as Jiva Goswami says, we have to get knowledge beyond this world. That's perfect. And you're not going to find it in the material world. So that's the whole point. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. The gentleman in the back would like to ask a question.
Hare Krishna Rama. Thank you for such a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, thank you for coming.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. My question is the moral, the gist, the summation of Srimad Bhagavatam the same thing like in some of the other books I've read from Prabhupada? Is it to chant the Hare Krishna Rama Maha Mantra, or would you say like something else, or whichever? Thank you.
Yeah, the whole essence of the Vedic scriptures is to convince us to chant Hare Krishna. You know, we just can't chant, but if we don't read, then we won't be more and more motivated to read. So all these things, the chanting is meant to develop love for God. The Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to help us develop love for God, to really understand who God is, to elevate our intelligence higher and higher and higher. So yeah, all we need is the name. That's all there is. The only reality is the pure devotees, right, and the holy name. That's the reality in the world. So, and all these other things are to help us, convince us in that way. But yeah, they're actually non-different than Krishna. And Krishna is everything. You know, like everything in the universe is supported, maintained by the sun rays. So similarly, everything is Krishna's. Krishna's expanded into everything. Krishna's everywhere. So Krishna is trying to show us, like we have all these metaphors, right, and analogies to help us understand Krishna, because Krishna is actually in everything. So we could see in metaphors that Krishna is coming out like that to help us understand that Krishna is there. And so once we find out that Krishna is everything, and Krishna is so beautiful and so knowledgeable, and there's so much to know about him in the Bhagavatam, that how could you not fall in love with him? You see? Going beyond this body that we're in love with, right? Or other bodies that we're in love with, or things that we're in love with, right? When we find what reality really is and what we really should be loving, which is Krishna. Yeah, so that's our goal. That's the essence. Love. All you need is love. Right? Jai. Okay, well, thank you for your kind attention. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.